Hello, I'm Kuljit Bhamra, and in this episode I'd like to talk about the iconic sound of the tabla, which is the sliding movement and the sliding sound which is produced on the lower drum. Now, there are very few drums in the world that can produce a sound like that with that technique. In fact, I don't think I know any other drum that can do that. Some of my colleagues produce a similar sort of sound on a conga by wetting their fingers and then sort of moving it across the drum. But that's got more of a type of sound, whereas this is more like a whoop. Now, the reason I'm referring to this sound as a sort of whoop type sound is because I'd like to explore the idea that it's actually made up of two components. There is a strike, and then there's the slide after the strike. Now, you can't do the slide without the strike because there's nothing to slide on, so to speak. So if I try to do that, you can't. You need the sound to slide on. Some people also ask me whether it's possible to slide backwards. Now, on a stringed instrument, you can slide either way. But on a tabla drum, because it's a resonant parchment or resonant surface, you can't slide backwards because there is no sound when your heel's in the middle of the drum. You've already muted the drum sound. So I'll try and demonstrate it. Not a lot happened there. Whereas if I do it the other way, you can see that this slide is quite easy to make. Now, in this episode, I'd like to talk about how this slide is incorporated in a groove or a tala or a rhythmical pattern. Given that I've already pointed out that that whole sound is made up of two components, the strike and the slide, I think it's nice to explore the idea of how you could use those two components as two components in the rhythm. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, it's quite easy to think that this is just another sound, and that's one sound. And there's nothing wrong with thinking like that. This is one sound. This is one sound. And this is one sound. And this is one sound. But I think it's very useful to think of it as two sounds or two beats. And one thing that I've been exploring for most of my playing career is the idea of incorporating that slide into the rhythm. So let me try and demonstrate that. If I was to play a simple 6-beat cycle, also known as dadra, without the slide, I could play it like this. One, two, three, 4, 5, 6. I could also play it like this. And what I'm trying to do there is assume that that is one sound. Now, if I suddenly change my mind about that and think of it as two beats, it adds a different feeling or a different mood to the groove. So let me just demonstrate that for you. Now, you'll be able to see that what I'm doing there is treating this as two beats. Da, whoop, da, e, da, whoop. And I personally think, as a musician that plays in recordings and also a lot of dance music, that by doing that, the pattern has a more of a groove or more of a bouncier feel. So I could incorporate more of those rhythmical slides in the groove, and I'll try and demonstrate that now. So hopefully you can see that there are two different ways of playing those slides. One is to consider that sound as one complete sound, and there's nothing wrong with doing that. But I think if you're somebody who's interested in playing groovy rhythms or dance music, playing that sound as a two-component sound really brings the rhythms to life. And given that it is one of the unique features of the tabla drum, it really brings that to the surface and makes the tabla shine more. Now, if you're someone who follows my work and has bought one of my read and play tabla books, you will see that I have distinguished three types of slides for the tabla. There's a slide and a strike as one sound. There is a strike and a slide followed by a strike at the end. So strike, slide, strike. And then there is a strike and a slide without a strike at the end. And again, especially from the last two, you can see that they are very strongly made up of two components. And then this one, not. So I hope that was useful for you. Thank you very much for watching, and I look forward to seeing you again.